Hello and welcome to this walkthrough video of the Roberts Revival Petite. The Petite is a compact Bluetooth DAB and FM radio. It has a built-in lithium-ion battery which allows you to listen to virtually anything on the go. On the front here we have the speaker. We have some buttons around a rotary control that you can also push. We also have a small OLED screen. And looking around the product on the back here, we've got an area which is a passive radiator. This is used to support the bass frequencies and gives it a nice rounded sound. We also have an external antenna socket. Now the Petite has a built-in aerial, so you don't actually need this, but if you find that the signal's actually not very strong where you are, it comes with in the box this cable here, which is a signal booster. So this you plug into the socket here, and at this point the Petite is now able to use this cable as an aerial, which will give it a boosted signal. Where I'm filming, the signal's actually not too bad, so I won't be using this. It's entirely optional. There's an auxiliary input which allows you to connect external devices, and of course you have the charging socket, which is USB micro. In the box you'll find a USB charging cable. This is it here, which just allows you to connect it to any USB power source. However, I will suggest that the best performance is obtained by using the Roberts USB travel power supply. There's two reasons for this. This power supply is rated to give you the maximum charging speed, but mainly it's to do with radio interference. Some USB power sources are a little bit noisy and will interfere with the radio. This has been optimized to work as best it possibly can. So turning the product on for the first time, we see the DAB scanning screen. On the display here you can see the progress indicator, and we'll soon start to see some radio stations appearing in the list. Great, it's now completed scan, so I can choose a station by turning the dial. Let's go to LBC.
Electric shock at a hotel in Blackpool. The child was taken to hospital on Sunday evening.
And we're listening to the news update. As you can see, I'm adjusting the volume with the plus and minus buttons here, and choosing a new radio station is as simple as you just turn the dial one notch and it gives you the station list. I can then select a new dial by choosing it and then clicking it. So here's Radio 4.
Until 100 years ago, it had been considered a permanent feature.
But you can hear it has a nice rounded sound. It's very usable. Turning it on and off, I just push the power button for more than about half a second and it'll turn off. And if I turn it back on by pushing the power dial, it'll remember the last station I was listening to and obviously just tune right in. I mentioned it has three modes. The second mode is FM radio tuning here, so we can this shows you the frequency that's currently selected. I can turn the dial to the right and it will immediately start scanning upwards in frequency. And it's found a radio station right away, BBC Devon. I'll go on to AUX In. At this point now the device is listening to the auxiliary input, so if I were playing something you would simply hear it through the speaker and adjust the volume accordingly. And finally Bluetooth. In this state it says looking for device. If you go to your phone and open up the Bluetooth menu, you should be able to find the Revival Petite, pair with it and play. It's that simple. So to come back to DAB now, there are several functions available inside the system, so we're just going to have a look at a few of those. To access the menu, I push and hold the button. So push and hold, and it brings up the menu. And the first thing we can see is recall and save preset. So I haven't saved any presets yet, so I'm going to choose save preset and select, and I can see a number of empty slots. So this is Radio 4, so I'm going to choose P4, which is empty, and save it. And what I'll do now is I'll choose another radio station. Let's go to Capital UK. Again, if I go push and hold the dial, save preset, I'll save this in preset 1. Now the DAB menu list is obviously quite long, and this is what presets are for. It allows you to just quickly access your favorite stations. So if I push and hold the dial again, and I press recall preset now, I'll find radio 4 in slot number 4, push, and it'll go straight to radio 4 rather than me having to find it in that long list. And I'll do that again for Capital, push and hold the dial, recall preset, number 1, and I'm straight back to Capital Radio. Also in the menu, there's quite a few other things to see. Scan. So when we first powered the unit up, you saw it do a DAB radio scan. That option in the menu allows you to perform another scan, which is quite useful, particularly with this device, because if you travel, you may find there's a load of radio stations available which are not at home, and so a scan enables you to pick up all the new stations. If I go back into this menu, the next option will be Prune. So if I were to take this device to another area and I'll find a whole load of new stations, some of the original stations in its memory might no longer be available. In that case, what happens is in the station list you'll see a question mark next to the stations that are not available at the moment, and choosing the Prune option of the menu will remove them. So it's a quick way to tidy up the list. DAB Advanced contains some options for manual tuning, dynamic range control, how you order the stations. The sleep timer, if I were to choose this, I can now choose a time, say 15 minutes. And now you'll see a little bed icon at the top. It's quite a nice feature if you want to put it on as you're going to sleep. After 15 minutes now it will basically switch off and allow you to sleep. Have another look at the menu. Brightness allows me to adjust the brightness of the display. And the system menu is the last item on the list, which allows me to alter things like how the time is updated, the language, and of course perform a factory reset. Perform a factory reset, what it will do is clear every memory, every preset, and reset all the controls to standard. So if I switch mode now to FM, and I push and hold the dial, we'll find a very similar menu. So we'll see recall preset and save preset. It works in a very similar way. So I can choose a slot. Now you'll notice with FM, there will already be some presets in the list. We use these frequencies at the factory for testing the radio, so that is intentional. What you do is you simply overwrite those presets with your preferred presets. So I've now saved this radio station. So just as before, I can recall a preset and recall it. If I enter the menu again, there's an option here called scan setting, which is quite important for FM. If I enter that, it says I can do local or distant. And really this sets up how sensitive the scanner is. If I choose local, that means that the radio will only really stop scanning, or it'll only choose radio stations with a relatively strong signal. If I were to choose distant, then it's much more sensitive, but you'll likely hear radio stations that aren't that clear sounding because the signal's very low. So just a little bit more on tuning, I can turn the dial up and it will scan up, but if I want to stop at a frequency early, I'll have to catch it, so I'll start and then stop. If I click the dial a second time, it'll allow me to stop the frequency. Similarly to DAB, in fact every mode has a sleep timer, the brightness control, and of course the system menu. I will just return to DAB and turn the power off, and that's about everything there is to the Roberts Petite. Thank you very much for watching.